Catchphrase is coming up in 15 minutes, but first we join Anna Maria Ashe and Jonathan Wills for London Weekend Tonight.
Hello, good evening.
This is London Weekend Tonight.
In the news, the fight to save our fire stations. Hundreds take to the streets of southeast London. Plus, basking in balmy weather, but the unseasonal sunshine is not making everyone smile.
And in sport, Yuletide celebrations on Valentine's Day. Jason Ewell scores for Wimbledon in the FA Cup, but it's not enough.
Hundreds of people took to the streets today to protest against the threatened closure of their fire station in southeast London. Shooters Hill, along with the Barbican station, are facing the axe due to government cuts, and firefighters are threatening to strike in an attempt to save them.
The route of the march passed close to the site of the Millennium Dome. Many protesters questioning how so much can be spent there, while a nearby fire station faces closure.
This particular government and this borough are spending 780 million on the dome. It doesn't even cost £1 million to run Shooters Hill for a year.
Basically, it's going to take longer for the neighbouring fire engines to reach the top of Shooters Hill, and the extra minutes or seconds are going to cost people's lives.
But the constituency MP says the government isn't to blame. The fire authority has just made a bad decision.
I accept that the London Fire and Civil Defence Authority have serious financial problems relating to their pension fund, etc. But they got considerably more money than they were anticipating when they made the decision to cut Shooters Hill fire station. Now, I'm saying that they've got the resources now. They should save this fire station.
And if they don't, London's fire crews may yet vote to strike. In Woolwich, this is Gareth Furby for London Weekend Tonight.
Police hunting the man who brutally attacked a Czech student on a London-bound train have released security video of passengers in an attempt to bring forward witnesses. The 19-year-old girl from the Czech Republic was left for dead in the toilet of the train to Charing Cross 3 weeks ago. Now detectives have released pictures taken by a station camera of passengers who were on the train. They want them all to come forward to help in the hunt for the attacker. Firefighters are tonight continuing to search a guest house in Surrey for 3 people missing following a blaze. They're still unaccounted for after fire ripped through a long-stay guest house in Shipley Bridge near Hawley. During the blaze last night, one man leapt to safety from a window. He's now in a serious condition in hospital, suffering from burns. It's been revealed today that the man responsible for the installation of signalling on the delayed Jubilee line extension has been sacked. John Mills, the chief executive at Westinghouse Signals, was dismissed this week. It came following the announcement that the opening of the extension has been put back to spring next year due to problems with the high-tech signalling. Now then, what's happened to winter? With temperatures soaring across the capital, it's easy to forget that it's February. But while millions of us enjoy an early taste of summer, not everyone in the capital is smiling.
While some shoppers took to London's markets in their sundresses, many traders were cursing the weather. At this stand, fur coats couldn't be given away.
This morning when I come here, I said, oh my God, I can't sell anything.
In such balmy weather, this store looked like old hat. Shoppers ignored the hanging gloves, though some were more sensible.
I'm quite determined to get a hat today, although there's a lot of sunshine and I'm not cold at the moment. I guess that sometime next week we shall be suffering from snow and hail and tremendous cold.
Some traders wish they'd brought a few summer items to sell.
These coats aren't selling. A day like today I should be selling t-shirts.
But the warm weather did put strawberry sellers in a good mood. And away from the streets, many were making the most of the sunshine, with temperatures expected to be unseasonably high for the rest of the weekend. In Islington, in North London, this is Kate Harding for London Weekend Tonight.
Enjoying it. Now then, the sport. Great weekend for sport.
Absolutely spectacular, isn't it? Good evening. A glorious afternoon for the 5th round of the FA Cup and the Premiership action as well. Starting in the FA Cup, and West Ham must do it all again. Paul Kitson and Isle Berkovic score the goals for the Hammers, but Blackburn scored 2 as well. And the Dons have a Valentine's message for their fans. We're still on course for Wembley, despite a 1-1 draw with Wolves. And there's a draw for Spurs in the Premiership, but a 1-1 scoreline gives Tottenham another valuable point against Leicester. Just one game in the First Division, and with Ray Harford returning to West Bromwich Albion for the first time since he took over at Queen's Park Rangers, it wasn't just the players who were hot under the collar at the Hawthorns this afternoon. A welcome back chorus from the home fans for Ray Harford may have been as likely as Ken Bates getting a Valentine's card from Ruud Gullit, but having won their first league game of the year last week at home to Crewe, the Rangers boss was hoping for a special I love you from his players. He got it courtesy of Mark Kennedy with the cross and Ian Dowie's first goal since his move from West Ham. But QPR's form away from home would disappoint the most average of Romeos, and it was no surprise when West Brom equalised. Lee Hughes playing head tennis with Lee Harper in the Rangers goal before turning the ball into the net. There followed a frantic last 10 minutes with Rangers holding on. Final score, West Bromwich Albion 1, QPR 1. Well, the game of the day in Division 2 was at Vicarage Road, where the leaders Watford took on their neighbours Luton.
There's no love lost at the best of times between these two sides, and a high noon kick-off at Vicarage Road gave the home team the ideal chance to stretch their lead at the top of the table. The first period remained goalless, Luton facing a desperate battle to avoid the drop, keeping out what few chances were created. But it all changed 6 minutes into the second period when Watford took the lead, Paul Robinson settling the nerves as he beat Kelvin Davis. But Watford, who needed victory after last weekend's disappointing loss to Gillingham, couldn't hold on, and Marvin Johnson claimed a point before the end to leave it Watford 1, Luton 1.
Well, just outside an automatic promotion place are Fulham. Today they had a potential banana skin of a game against fellow contenders Oldham. And not surprisingly, the first period proved to be a close run affair. Veteran striker Andy Ritchie not far off the mark. And Paul Pesky-Solider really should have done better when he was left with only Gary Kelly to beat. But Lee Duxbury scored the winner in the second half to make it Oldham 1, Fulham 0. Brentford's view on life is rather different at the moment. The next few months far from rosy as the battle to avoid the drop intensifies. Preston were the latest team to try their luck at Griffin Park, but it was the Bees who first came close to scoring, only the woodwork denying them, and Preston also went close. A brilliant save from Michael Pollitt, keeping out Kurt Nogan, but it finished Brentford 0, Preston 0. So here then is a complete check on those second division results. Blackpool 3, Millwall 0, Brentford 0, Preston 0, Northampton 3, Southend 1, Oldham 1, Fulham 0, Watford 1, Luton 1, and Wickham 2, Burnley 1. In the third division, Barnet's future off the pitch remains uncertain. On it, they're well placed for promotion, but today they got off to the worst possible start against Cardiff.
With only 3 away wins this season and placed 17 positions behind Barnet, visitors Cardiff broke the home fans' hearts when Andy Saville put his side 1 up after just 4 minutes. Poor defending led to Cardiff's second. This time the Barnet defence just froze as they watched Jason Fowler's shot find the back of the net. Barnet did get one back before the break. Top scorer Sean Devine pulled down in the area and Paul Wilson calmly converted from the spot. Cardiff have drawn over half of their games this season. Habits don't change. Scott McLeish made sure it finished Barnet 2, Cardiff City 2.
And there was just one other result from the third division. That was Macclesfield 1, Leyton Orient 0. Well, after last weekend's Five Nations, it was back to rugby's Allied Dunbar Premiership this afternoon. Here's a look at the results affecting our teams. Bath 43, Wasps 27, Bristol 20, Saracens 37, Leicester 34, London Irish really struggling down the bottom there with just 19 points. Players resumed after lunch on the second day of the third test match in Trinidad. Just a few moments ago, England were 99 for 5, that in reply to West Indies' first innings total of 159. Got it all to do, haven't they?
Thank you, Jonathan. Finally, the moment when love blossomed at last for a couple who first met nearly 40 years ago. Antonio Caminiti and Margaret Greer were teenage sweethearts in Australia, but drifted apart. But Antonio met Margaret again on a trip to London last year, and they chose Valentine's Day to get married.
This is the moment when Cupid's arrow finally struck home. Theirs is a love that has spanned the century and crossed the world, but 40 years after they first met, it took the magic of Valentine's Day to bring them together forever. Antonio Caminiti and Margaret Greer were teenage sweethearts in Australia in the 60s, but fate forced them apart, only for them to be reunited at the end of last year when Antonio came to North London to visit relatives. Love soon blossomed again, and amid a shower of confetti this morning, lifelong dreams were realised at last.
Did you think it was ever going to happen, Margaret? No. Have you been waiting for all these years?
Yeah, I think so.
be on my own for lots of years.
Maybe mythical, certainly magical, St Valentine has ensured that these not-so-young lovers are driving away to happiness. In Wood Green, this is Tom Hayes for London Weekend Tonight.
Oh, it's lovely, isn't it?
Isn't it lovely? You were going to ask me something, you forgot.
Last year I asked you to marry me, you refused, so I'm not going to ask you again.
I just like you asking every year. That's it. See you tomorrow, 1:25. Bye-bye.
Bye.